Hello there and happy 2019. In the last video of 2018, I asked for you to submit your questions about your trip in this year, so I'm gonna go ahead and answer them. Ken Bright asked, I'd like to know if taking an Uber at the airport is reasonable or should I get the Heathrow Express? Ken, it totally depends on where you're staying. The Heathrow Express, if you book your ticket in advance, is gonna be a much more affordable option than a taxi. However, you might be staying in a part of London that is nowhere near Paddington, which is where the Express goes into, so actually it doesn't make sense for you to take it. For example, whenever I go to Heathrow, I actually take a taxi because I don't live anywhere near Paddington, so it doesn't make sense for me to go up to Paddington and then take the Heathrow Express to the city. I might as well just take a taxi. It does usually cost me like £40, but for the convenience, I don't mind it. Your best bet is to see on either Citymapper or Google Maps what is going to be the best route to get from Heathrow to your hotel. Cherry Bomb asked, is it better to choose a hotel near the airport or the city center? So there are 5 airports for London, but every single one of them except for one is not actually in London. So for just about every case, it's better to stay in the center of London than at the airport because there's nothing at the airport. Missy M asked, I would love your thoughts on what to do in the evening and where to eat as a solo female. So 2 popular areas in London to go out in the evenings are Soho, which is right in the center of London, and also Shoreditch, which is East London. They have lots of bars, clubs, and restaurants you can go to. As for eating as a solo female, I eat on my own all the time because I'm always testing restaurants, and I can never usually find anyone to go with me because I try to do it during the day and everybody else is working during the day. So don't be afraid to go by yourself. It's totally fine. It's a huge city. You'll never see any of these people ever again, even if they give you a weird look, which they totally shouldn't because it's totally fine. But I think that restaurants that have like a bar set up where you can kind of watch, either like sit at the bar and have your food there, whether they're making drinks or you're like at the kitchen pass, I think it's called, and they're making their food in front of you. That's a really good option if you're on your own. One restaurant specifically that is great for that is called the Palomar. It's one of my favorite restaurants in London, and it's in Soho, and they have seating at their bar and you can watch them cook, and the chefs and the staff are really nice and usually like engage with you and talk with you. Deze asked, as an American moving to London, would you have to be very familiar with the metric system to be able to navigate through the country? They actually use miles here, usually over kilometers, not always. And it's not really that important because we all have these nowadays, and it's just, you can convert in your phone. Dark Chai asks, any suggestions or tips where to get a SIM card for my phone? So there's a few options. You can get a SIM card sent to you, even if you live outside of the UK, from giffgaff. I'll leave a link to the page where you can do that in the description of this video. You can also pick one up at the airport, but they are usually a little bit more expensive apparently. I don't know for sure, I've never needed one obviously. Or you can just wait till you get into London and get settled in your hotel and then pop to a convenience store or a supermarket or a phone shop, and you'll be able to pick up a pay-as-you-go one pretty easily. Sour Panda asked, what about the foreign part of London? Are there many foreigners? London is a city of foreigners, so yes. In fact, according to the 2011 census, 37% of Londoners were born outside of the UK and 24% are non-UK nationals. And if you ask any Londoner, most likely they're gonna say part of what they love about the city is how diverse it is and how many different backgrounds people come from. I can't read the name for this one, but they asked, I'd like you to tell us about the places which are not popular among the tourists, but which Londoners love to visit. So I have a video series called Cool Areas to Visit in London that you've never heard of, and that is going to help you out with that. So you can watch that by clicking the card that's popping up over there in the corner. TST Girl asked, if I'm going to go from London to Paris by Eurostar and I'm taking a 5:40 a.m. taxi, are there taxis or Uber available at 4 a.m.? Yeah, your best bet is gonna be just to call an Uber, but yep, you'll be totally fine. Laura Smith asked, I'll be visiting London for a week in April and wondered mainly about the weather for that time of year and the clothes that go along with that. would you say being in a big city means it's better to dress nicer to fit in with everyone, or is it usually kept casual? So the thing about London weather is that it is all over the place. I mean, I remember a week in the summer, like the late spring last year, where on Monday I had my heavy winter down coat on, and then literally the next day I was in a sundress because there was such a drastic change in temperature. So I could give you averages for the month, but it could like not be anything like that. So I do have a video about how to figure out the weather for when you're going to be here, and that will help you pack. So watch that. That's going to be click the card popping up here. That will help you with that. In terms of dress, I have another video about like what to wear when you're here. Again, I'll have a card popping up here in a second, so you can watch that. But in my opinion, I think that people in London dress a little bit fancier usually than Americans do. If you're from the US, just Europeans in general tend to dress a little bit nicer than Americans, in my opinion. I also think that it's always better to be too dressy than not dressed up enough. So I usually try to follow that rule and make sure I'm dressed like a little bit nicer maybe than I might anticipate that I need to be dressed. But at the end of the day, it's your holiday, so you can wear whatever you want. Thank you so much to everybody who submitted questions, and I will see you next week for the second video of 2019.